Sancho to score. No mistakes this time.
That is a rocket.
Royce and another fantastic goal by Marco Royce. Haaland's volley is beautiful beyond compare.
Jetzt kommt das Wunder von Dortmund. Foulspiel von Inzo an Götze.
Needs to lay it off. We're going to shot away. Oh, what a goal!
Welcome back to Dortmund Dispatch. I'm joined by Pedro and Joey. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. I think it's my first episode in a long time, so I'm just glad to see you guys back and glad to be out with you guys talking Borussia Dortmund or football in general. I've been starting a new job, so a lot of stuff. Also the time zones don't help me in terms of recording time, so I'm sorry guys, so I'm not here as often, but I'm here now. Let's talk some Borussia Dortmund. Season's over. Yeah, and a lot of interesting things to talk about for the next one.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you back, Pedro. I've missed chatting over these podcasts with you, so always a pleasure. My weekend was good. It's become summertime here in North Carolina, so that means 105-degree days, and yeah, it's just a lot of sweat. So that's where I'm at right now. It's hot. But how are you doing, Eli?
I too have gained employment, which is generally a positive, but it's a bit of a negative for Pedro and I's friendship, as the 6-hour time difference is really going to take a hit there. So I'm not going to be able to make the 4 p.m. time slot anymore, which is a bit harsh, unfortunately.
Yeah, we can adapt. We were gonna figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We might have to go back to a Sunday recording.
We've only done these 4 p.m. Monday recordings a few times, so we're an adaptable bunch.
Yeah,
we'll make it work.
Just like Borussia Dortmund, whose adaptation has been bringing in 2 little Italian children and winning some games as they beat Bremen 2-0 away from home, amidst several offsides calls for Bremen, or against Bremen. So what were your thoughts on the final match of the season?
I'm gonna go first because I'm gonna be very quick because I didn't have the chance to watch the match. I was out in a brunch with a couple of friends, so I didn't have the time to watch the match. But yeah, I watched the goals, watched the highlights. I was excited that Jan Koto scored another goal. Of course, and we don't know he's gonna stay Borussia Dortmund for next season, but I'm always glad to see a Brazilian scoring in black and yellow. And yeah, I think overall, or at least I'm gonna talk not specifically about this game, but like this few bunch of matches by the end of the season that I've followed. I think I really like the fact that we have guys like Inacio and Rajani having their shot at the starting 11, since it's not going to change much our position at the table. Just it's nice to see Kovač letting those guys have a spot on the team, also because we're going to need them, especially in terms of Inacio, because Brunt is leaving. We still don't know we're going to have any other additions on that part of the field, and we also have Justin Lerma coming on from South America as well for next season. So I'm really glad that he's just giving opportunities for those guys. And I really like Inacio's tenacity, just working in those little pockets of space, just trying to find shots and passing lanes and just being very daring and very courageous with the ball on his feet. I think that was my highlight from the match and from this past 4 to 5 matches before the end of the season. I think we end the season in a good note. I think there's a few things I still have questions about, but I think it's a subject for us to discuss a little bit later. But yeah, I think Borussia Dortmund did their due diligences. We are in the Champions League, and hopefully we can take the next step in the season ahead.
For sure, and I mean, second place is I mean, it's certainly something to be proud of, even if we kind of, I don't know. I mean, I would love to feel like we really challenged for the title, but I mean, settling for second is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. In a match like this, I have kind of learned to tamper my expectations for the last match of the season when we don't have anything to play for, as in we're qualified for Champions League, no chance of winning the title on the final match day. but I always just hope for a win because at least if we end the season on a win, I go into the summer break in a fairly good mood about Borussia Dortmund. And I mean, it's the same thing with going into the winter break on a loss. It leaves a sour taste in your mouth, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to next season right now. And part of it is because of guys like Reggiani and Samuele Inacio, who, like you, Pedro, I thought he was pretty good on the ball. He brings a certain creative quality in like some of these one-on-one dribbles into the box, like a quality that I feel like we haven't really seen in a player in a couple of years. And I mean, maybe Brandt had some of this fancy footwork, but he didn't have the same. He didn't no longer have the same has the same pace that we're starting to see with Inacio. So I thought this was a very promising match from him. Of course, Julian Rierson with his 15th assist of the season. Um, I just like the fact that he's become pretty consistent with some of these shots. I watched a highlight reel earlier today that was just it was all 15 of Rierson's assists from the season. And I mean there were a couple that were a little bit different or were more like a pass and then Adeyemi put one in. But almost all of these are either corners or they're aerial crosses that are finding a target who's putting the shot away pretty cleanly. So I gotta be happy with Rierson and I suppose hope that he doesn't attract too much attention from the Premier League or other places because I'd like to see him stay. Um, I mean, otherwise it was a decent match. Got to be happy with Kobel getting it's also another 15. I think his 15th clean sheet, which ties the record of Roman Weidenfeller from about I guess maybe 13 years ago. Um, so I think there are a lot of things to kind of celebrate at the end of the season, which is why I'm fairly happy with the conclusion. Of course, we will reflect more on the season as a whole in a later episode or episodes, I'm sure. So, yeah, my view on the season's entirety is a bit different than these concluding few matches. So I'd say just overall, I'm happy with how Dortmund finished the season and sort of how we look going into the summer break when it's like the World Cup hasn't even started and we've still got plenty of time to learn what additional transfers we'll be making this summer. So yeah, I'm here for it.
Absolutely. With this match, I think there's a lot of takeaways you can go to, and I think like moving forward, it's nice to see like when Kale Watson did it, there wasn't like a lot of flashy stuff, and some of the dribbles you're talking about with Inacio have that element to it. So it's exciting to see that, especially like his ability to get shots off from good locations. It's very interesting. Lars Ricken said it was a well-deserved victory, which we secured with ease. We had plenty of chances to score after a bit of a dip in form. We're ending the season on a high with 3 wins from 4 games, and we've managed to build up a bit of anticipation for what's to come. With these wins, the way they were achieved, and the contract extensions for the young players, we're showing that we're heading into next season with courage, confidence, and anticipation. And so those contract extensions he's referring to are, well, there's not just young players with contract extensions. It's Felix Necha, it's Nico Schlotterbeck, and then with those young players, it's Samuel Ignacio, Musa Kaba, who's been one of the more highly rated academy players for Borussia Dortmund in recent years. So there's a lot to look forward to next year.
No, absolutely. I think Dortmund is a little bit, at least since I've been following with the new addition of Volk as our new sporting director, having a guy with that background, and with, of course, Elversberg officially now in the Bundesliga, a great story as well. And to see him just bringing that Dortmund identity of young, talented players being developed, and with the mix with the older generations, the matches, the Antons, the Schlotterbecks that we already have in the squad, I think can only bring more quality and just give us a little more stuff to be excited about and just to have a little bit more fun, just to play maybe a different or more daring brand of football next season. I think also that will depend on the technical staff and what will be the decisions on the tactical side as well. But at the same time, I think only the pieces only and just having like a few different faces over there already just give us a better perspective for the future, because I think the squad needs a bit of work, and especially in the midfield, I think we are lacking a few technicians in the midfield. I think we have really good ball carriers, strong players and physical players on that part of the pitch, which is the most important in the modern game, but we're still missing a few technicians over there, and hopefully we can address those and other um, sectors in our squad that are lacking some quality.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement there. I'm really curious to see what other kinds of signings Book manages to pull off this summer, or even just like a few of a few more players who I'm sure we're going to be linked with in the coming month, or the aftermath of the World Cup too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and so real quickly, let's just run through our start of the week before we get into breaking down those specific contract extensions and some other stuff that's been going on with Borussia Dortmund. I'm going to take first shot at the start of the week, because I never do that, and talk about a player that I don't speak positively about enough, and that's Julian Ryerson. Julian Ryerson, I believe, had an assist in this game again, and he's up to over 10 expected assists on the season in the Bundesliga alone. And that is an incredible number, even for a guy taking set pieces. The delivery was consistent all season. The set piece coach got sacked, and the assists went up. So, really, if you think about it, like, that is a way where you can add 3 to 4 points. And we'll talk more about some point stuff in the dud of the week. I think it might come up. So I'm gonna leave that as a cliffhanger. But who was your start of the week, Pedro?
Well, you kind of stole mine because I was going to shout out Julian Ryerson, but just to give a shout out to a guy I already paid my compliments in the pod earlier, Samuel Inacio. I think from the very few clips that I've seen from him, of course, I think it's unfair that I didn't see the match, so I can properly give a better, like, more in-depth analysis on the match particularly. But I think Inacio has really been the winner in the past few weeks, and I think we definitely have a rising star in the squad with him, not only for the Dortmund, but we don't even know which national team he's going to defend. He's also son to a Brazilian father as well, so he can also be another Brazilian playing for Borussia Dortmund. So I'm excited for that, even though Jan Couto might be leaving. But yeah, I will go with Samuel Inacio for now. And Joey, what's your start of the week?
Yeah, those are both really good picks, and it makes me really curious about what direction Inacio is going to go for if he keeps developing. Of course, he could potentially be a star for Italy, but
I know what Pedro's
does
pitch
he
is
want
gonna
to play
be.
in a World Cup though? I don't know. I mean, Brazil's a consistent World Cup participant. Italy, on the other hand, they may have
Yeah.
won it a bunch of times, but anyway. Um, Rierson and Inacio are probably the two standouts for me in this one. After that, though, I am gonna kind of do something a little different with my star of the week this time, and I'm gonna give it to Karim Adeyemi and Jan Couto, because these guys were sitting on the bench and they they must realize at some point, like, oh man, we're only gonna get like 12 minutes or 8 minutes to play. We got to make this count, and they did. Adeyemi linking up with Jan Couto to finish the match off in stoppage time. So yeah, happy with the conclusion. Fun winning a match to head into summer, and fun to score right at the death too.
Much like my high school coach, Jan Koto came off the bench with the last 2 minutes because I think, like my high school coach, Niko Kovač just forgot he was there and was like, "Oh, we should get you in and like give you a chance before the season ends." And that's the treatment I got, so I can appreciate that. Jan Koto was able to get in there at the end, and he really made the most of his 2 minutes on the pitch. Kareem Adeyemi, my goat. I was wearing his shirt on the day. Much much better performance. Absolutely created that chance all on his own. So that's my guy. Gotta shout out Karim Adeyemi. And actually, like, this is one of Karim Adeyemi's worst seasons since he was like 19 at Borussia Dortmund. And he still managed to end up somehow on 16 goals between the league and the Champions League, which, while not good, or not what we would expect of him, it's not terrible. It's better than I thought, honestly. So that was interesting to me. And let's get into our dud of the week. And Pedro, you haven't been on the show in a while. I'll let you go first here. I think you have a hammer to drop.
Yes, I do. And I'm glad that you gave me the mic for this one at first. Of course, I think, as we all know at this point, by you guys listening to the podcast, of course, I've not been here for the past few weeks, but you guys know I'm a big Kovac fan, big, love the guy. I really appreciate everything he has been doing for the club. But yeah, unfortunately, I gotta shout out him here in my third week because he had a really bad quote in the past few days, and that really pissed me off. It really pissed off a lot of Borussia Dortmund fans, and I just wanted to uh, be clear here. I don't think, uh, of course, I think he has overall the idea that I don't have the quote in front of me, of course, but he all about him. He was saying like about being realistic, and we should just know where our place is. And Borussia Dortmund is not going to fight for the title against Bayern Munich because they are way ahead in terms of squad building, money, etc. I'm not saying that he's necessarily wrong. Okay, he has some points, Robert, and we know deep down, just analyzing the team and following the team week after week, that our squad is lacking and it's not up to the standard of a Bayern Munich. And I would even dare to say to some clubs in the Bundesliga, I think on midfield, it's not as good as Leverkusen had. I think they had a down season. They lost a lot of players. But I honestly think there are some players playing that midfield that would definitely start for Borussia Dortmund. And just as an example, but you also have like the Frankfurts and other clubs like Leipzig as well. So it's a very difficult league to play against, especially against a club like Bayern, that it doesn't allow you to lose many games. So in that sense, I understand what he's saying, but at the same time, there's different ways in which you can express yourself. And I didn't think Niko Kovač did that, especially just in terms of speaking to the fans, because the fans, it's not their goal, or they don't need to be the realistic type. They work their asses off the whole week. They work very long hours, and they just want to enjoy a beer and have fun watching a football match during the weekend. And they want to have the hope that their team might, or like, we don't know if Borussia Dortmund is going to win like a league in the next few years, but we want to have that hope, or at least when our coach to transparent to us that he's doing everything in his power to take us there. And I don't think he did that with that quote. He's just putting us down. That's depressive in that sense, just putting our club's history down, the club that has been fighting for trophies, when I believe us all started becoming Borussia Dortmund fans and started following the club more closely. And that's our expectations as fans overall. When we sometimes go to the stadium, I had the opportunity to go to my first game this season. I was really happy about that. So that's not a nice thing to say to us, just saying like in our faces that we are not going to fight for the title next season. There's other ways in which you can say, be realistic, as he expressed himself. I don't think he had a good moment over there. And personally, I don't think he should be the Borussia Dortmund manager for the next season. I always thought he was a low ceiling type manager. He did a decent job for us, but I think that's it. I think he reached his ceiling, and I think we need something extra to just take even more out of this squad, because we have a decent squad. We can get better at some areas for sure, but I think these guys can deliver more, and I don't think he's the guy for that. So I think I've already spoken enough, but he's my dud. That's my opinion on the matter, and I'll just go with you guys for the next dud.
Yeah, so for Kovac, I also want to talk about the points here, because, like, at the end of the day, it is 16 points. But if you look into it, it can quickly become a lot less because the last 2 seasons, Bayern have not done the double on us. This year they did. I think it was coming into the season, we were like 4 games unbeaten against Bayern with a couple wins in there. Very quickly, it's easy to see how close this league could have been if that had been reversed. And it is incredibly, unbelievably difficult to beat a Bayern team twice. But had we done that, we're talking about a 12-point swing. Now it's a 4-point league. Like, if we beat Bayern once, then all of a sudden it's 10 points. And we sacked our set piece coach, and our set pieces provided us so many goals in the second half of the season. And so if you look at that and you say, okay, our set piece coach was terrible to start the season, that can easily be another 3 to 4 points. And in both of these situations, I think that is a good way to kind of get you to within a couple points. And this is also a historically dominant Bayern side. They lost 1 game. Maybe they slip up a little bit against Augsburg next year, like they've been known to do in recent years. And you had so many top teams like Eintracht Frankfurt and Leverkusen in transition. And when these teams settle a bit more, it should help the league at the top of the table, especially, get more competitive. And if you have more of the good teams in the Bundesliga capable of beating Bayern, which you would hope for next year, and Borussia Dortmund is able to play a little bit better in some of these big games, which you would hope to do in your second full season under a head coach, I think it's not difficult to say, and to say before the start of a season, especially, that this team can compete for a league title. Because as much as you can say the financial gap is there, the quality in the squad for Bayern is hard to match. Atletico Madrid have won multiple titles in the last, 10 years? And they have a lower payroll than Borussia Dortmund. Not by much. It's very similar, but they're marginally lower than us in terms of payroll. And Real Madrid and Barcelona are both teams with a higher payroll than Bayern Munich, I believe. So they're doing more with less. If we have the expectation that we can do more with less, then I think it'll help us. I think I'm not as mad about this. Like Brian, who's not on the show today, is probably most mad about this. Pedro, he's a Kovač hater, so he's right there. I'm not there with this quote, but I just don't think that it's I don't think it's a correct opinion. I think we are close enough to a 10-15% improvement, and then having some margin for error and some luck going our way that could really get us competing for a Bundesliga title through all 34 match days. Not necessarily winning. I think it would take some luck and a slip. But if Borussia Dortmund controls everything they can control, and this is the way they should be phrasing these types of questions, just say Niko Kovač. All you have to say is, look, we're going to control everything we can control. We're not worried about Bayern. We're going to be the best team we can possibly be. And if we take care of that, then on the 34th match day next year, if Bayern are perfect and they play to their potential, they may still win the league, but we're going to be right there with them through all 34 match days if we take care of our business. That's the way you need to phrase it. Just focus internally on being the best we can be and not conceding yourself and being submissive in that way. I just think it's a very untrained, these guys get PR training. Where is it? It's not there. It's not being listened to. Joey, I'll let you go. I've said enough.
Yeah, I guess for the most part, and I'm in agreement with you. Of course, we've been watching this team for a while now. We don't need to be told that there's a huge difference in quality or finances between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich. But like you both said, it's there's something about having that belief, and I think I said this in the chat earlier too. Something along the lines of like we want to recruit players who are hungry for titles. Like, I mean, I recognize we do not usually win a title in any given season, but we did get a German Cup not that long ago. We made it to Champions League final. We left it till the final match day to blow our chances of the Bundesliga crown. And I mean, those are, I mean, both examples of times we didn't win titles, but we were competing for them. And I think that's the major thing there. I mean, if I mean we end the season that we almost won the Bundesliga, Terzic's second full season, ended up losing out on goal differential, and we're never going to beat out Bayern Munich's goal differential. But I mean that's a single point swing. That's the difference of a win versus a draw at Heidenheim, it and I don't like the idea of we have to wait until Bayern has an off year. What if Dortmund has a really good year? And I mean, even by Bayern Munich standards, this season has been kind of incredible. I mean, just looking at like one league loss and I think three draws, maybe. I mean, that's unrealistic even by their own standards. I mean, that's up there with like some of the best seasons all time. Um, but yeah, again, it's like we need to have some belief, and there are so many promising things going on at the club right now as we enter the summer, including just finishing the season with a win. That I don't know. This quote just sort of like I don't want this to become like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing where we're going to finish second next season because we expect to finish second. And we've been watching long enough to know that there's been the weird mental thing between Dortmund and Bayern for a while, and we went that stretch of like something like 12 games without like between Dortmund and Bayern without being able to win. And then we finally broke that streak. And once we broke it, as Eli mentioned, we went several without losing and actually had a couple wins in there. So, like Bayern Munich is a beatable team. Are they really good? Yes. Do they have financial strength that is higher than ours? Yes. Do they have better players? Yes. But for all of the examples that you've already mentioned, that doesn't necessarily mean it's impossible to overcome a team like Bayern. And whether or not Kovac is the right man for the job next season, um, I this is where I probably disagree with Pedro because I do think, given how the team has stabilized and how we have become somewhat consistent, um, I do I feel confident enough in Kovac to at least give him another season to see how he continues to build this team with Nils Ole Book's help. Um, I wouldn't be in favor of extending a contract right now. I would kind of wait at least until December at that point to see how the season is going. Um, because I do think that at the end of the day, Kovac is a good coach, and I have not really been impressed by him at Dortmund in the cup competitions, but he has won the German Cup with a couple different teams. So um, yeah, I guess and I'm not sure. I don't really have. There's not somebody that I have in mind who I'm like, oh, that guy is free, and I think he would make a great Dortmund manager right now. And maybe there are a couple, but I would guess I would take stability over uncertainty right now.
Yeah, well, there will actually be a lot of great managers available on free transfers after the World Cup.
Yeah,
But
Iraola, often he's just leaving Bournemouth as a free agent. Like we could literally say.
but my point on like how good this Bayern team is, the last time Bayern had this many points, Robert Lewandowski was wearing black and yellow.
Yeah,
That's 12 years ago.
that's what I mean. Even by their own standard, it's a really good season.
Yeah, and like that was also like the last time they like technically Bayer Leverkusen finished on one more point than Bayern did this year. Like that's how good they were. They were a game away from matching the best ever Bundesliga league campaign. And an unbeaten one at that. So it makes no sense to go out and say that. So we're gonna end our season with Niko Kovač getting the dud of the week, and he's gonna be the only one, and he's gotten all 3 of ours. Usually I wouldn't allow it, but in this case we're making an exception just because like it was so unnecessary to say
It really
that.
was, yeah.
Like you could
I mean,
add
come
in
on.
one sentence about like, Bayern are great. We can't match their money. We can't necessarily even match their quality, but we can control everything we can control and be a very good team and give them a run for their money. And he didn't even say something like that. I don't know. Maybe
Kovac needs to watch some Ted Lasso and then start, start addressing the media. That could backfire too, though.
I think that there's a lot of middle ground in between Ted Lasso and this type of negativity, which is where
Right,
Niko
somewhere in
Kovač.
between. Somewhere in between.
I would honestly maybe even prefer him to be closer to Niko Kovač than Ted Lasso in terms of the positivity. Like, he can be a more negative person, but he can't be that negative. He's like at least say like, well, if my players had performed to their level every single week, then we could have competed for the league. Like, that's at least funny.
I feel like that's just pushing the blame to the players then. It's like, oh, it's not my fault. It's my players' fault.
Yeah. Like, his tactics are not just to double. Like, he couldn't change like a bit of a thing to help us out, but
yeah. Well, our next quote is going to be Maxi Bayer describing his wingback role to kicker, and he said, "You're right, I work hard in defense and I've got the pace needed for the wing. In that respect, it's not a bad position for me, and to be honest, I'm still playing very high up on the pitch when we're in possession. I feel comfortable there, so I'd say as long as we've got the ball, everything's fine. I think I've already made progress in my defensive work, but I'm continuing to work on it. I think you could see that recently too."
Well, I mean, I think Maxi Bayer, like, is being truthful, and to be honest, he had gotten better in that role in the past few matches. But honestly, tactically speaking, I don't really like him on that role. I think we all discussed here before that he's always better just making movements and finding spaces closer to the box where he can associate with his teammates. I think that's where he excels, and he's not really the best dribbler or the fastest guy to take on the wing. Of course, his work rate compensates for that. And so that's why I think what he meant about getting better on his defensive work. But I don't think he has the pace nor the skill set to be that dual threat winger. So in that sense, I don't really think that role fits him. I thought it was fine for few matches, but we have Svensson. We're gonna have Kawan Praches next season. Hopefully, he can get a few minutes as well, just to get more accustomed to European football and see what we have in him. Not sure if we're gonna possibly loan him the beginning of his Dortmund career as well, but yeah, not a big fan of Maxi on the position, but I mean, of course, I love Maxi over as a player. He has a great work rate. He's great with his teammates, and I think that's a guy that we also need to keep to be like a solid base for this squad. And I think he's an excellent guy, and hopefully he continues on the club.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of like Maxi in this position in a very specific circumstance, and that is when he comes on as a substitute and we're chasing the game. If we need a goal to scrape out a draw or maybe push a draw to a win, then I think playing Maxi in a wingback role allows us to have another attacker on the field while he still knows that his role and his agility is going to allow him to get back and help out with defense. But in a starting position, I mean, I just feel like, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this on the pod before too. I just feel like he's better when he's up front, when he can be doing some kind of link up play with the other attacking players. And I might argue, how about throwing Maxi up in the number 9 position, maybe a sole striker role? But I've said that a bunch of times before too.
The funniest thing about that, this quote is that we're even taking it like seriously that he actually does wingback things when he gets played there, because he doesn't. Like he
Exactly.
defends a little bit harder, and when we're in our defensive third, he's a little bit deeper. But his average position has to be pretty
Pretty far
similar.
up the pitch.
Like the average position might get dropped back because he's dropping back deeper when we don't have the ball, but like the median position is still like inverting off the left wing into kind of strikery type positions, because he's not doing wing back things. He's not
Hmm.
helping in the build up. The way he's helping in the build up is sprinting forward. And I don't know how much I love the idea of like playing Maxi Bayer 3,000 minutes a season and asking him to do more 70-yard sprints, because that's a recipe for injuries. And he hasn't had any yet, but like he's only getting older, and the more 70-yard sprints you do in a season, um
Statistically speaking,
it's an inevitability that he would pick up some kind of muscle injury. And when you pick up your first, you're more likely to pick up your second. I don't like it. I don't think it's sustainable for Maxi. I don't think it makes sense as a team. And like it can work against some bad teams, but you could also just like switch your formation slightly so you can add an attacker. Like Pedro said, like we're not like you can play like some kind of off balance three at the back system without a left wing back. Um, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. It's trying to shoehorn in a better player because we don't have depth, which is on Sebastian Kale, and next season it'll be on Ollie Book. But I think it's mainly at this point on Kovač, because he's the only one really who's been at the club this entire time. Like Kale's gone, we can't criticize him too much. This is our second to last episode where we get to criticize Kale.
I mean, he
So
I mean, Kovac could be putting, Bayer up front and Girassi on the wing back, but that would never happen.
that wouldn't work. That's even worse.
I know. I'm just making
At
a
least,
joke.
like
Girassi doesn't have the legs for that.
we talked about 70-yard sprints at this, or I talked about 70-yard sprints. When was the last time you saw Girassi?
I don't know if I saw him make one this season.
Maybe a 70-yard hard jog.
Yeah.
That we might have seen.
I'd say hard jog. Yep. Oh man.
Okay, so next up we have Samuel Inacio signing his contract extension. We already talked about this a bit, but Ale Book said Samu has a lot to offer. He's a clever player, confident on the ball, and excellent at linking up play. On top of that, he has a very good sense of space, which also makes him a threat in front of goal. These qualities, combined with his hard work and his willingness to keep developing, make him a really good player who has already made good progress with us whilst still having a long way to go.
Yeah, I think Old Book already made a good impression on me since he has arrived. I think the fact that he's changing the club mentality a little bit and just going back to the old Dortmund that we all adored, and just providing these young players a platform to elevate the ceiling of the team. I think that's something that really helps us tremendously. I just ask myself if, as we're talking with Kovac, if he's the right coach for us in the future. Because if we're going to stick with Kovac, we're also going to stick with him with his tactics and the way we build the squad. And it doesn't really matter if you have a guy, a progressive-minded guy like Old Book, that is willing to take younger players with higher ceiling, if the tactics do not necessarily translate into developing those players, or necessarily just taking the best out of their players. We were talking about Maxi Bayer. I think putting him as a left wing back is some tremendous misprofiling by Kovac, and it doesn't help him Maxi develop as a player. It might help him develop a few aspects of his game, but I don't think it put him in a position to really help us in the long run and to develop himself in maybe even a German national team squad player. So I think in that matter, I think Kovac is going to have a lot of work during his tenure as a Borussia Dortmund sporting director, and I think it's going to be interesting how the dynamic of this transfer market is going to play out and how much of a role Kovač is going to head and how he's going to work aside Obok on finding the middle ground between those two philosophies. Because in my mind, from what I've seen so far from Kovač and what I've heard and seen from transfer rumors about Obok, those philosophies and ways of thinking football are very distinct. So I'm very curious of how that's going to play out in the summer transfer window.
I'm really curious about that as well, and I think all your points there are very well made. I mean, Maxi is one player especially who I think has not necessarily been played in a way that favors him a lot of the time. You could say the opposite about a player like Ryerson, I suppose, who has really found some success. And I think in prior season, or like at the end of prior seasons, I may have been more likely to like desire a coaching change, but I feel like in the last decade or so, we've just gone through so many coaches that I'm like, all right, let's just take a minute here. We got second, we had a good points tally. It might not be the most attractive football, but at least it's stable for now. But I am really curious to see how Kovac works with Ole Book, because you're right, Pedro. They are very different. Book seems like a very progressive, like really. He seems like a very progressive in the way that he is trying to pursue targets, while Kovac seems like a bit more traditional. And I'm also curious to see the differences this summer, as opposed to like the past few summers with Sebastian Kiel, where we've seen a lot of like these last minute transfers, or these transfers that take place to kind of create a patchwork team, or fill in the spaces rather than being proactive and trying to create a team that is going to work well together. On the case of Inacio, I'm just excited to watch him play, and I think that's what that's what's doing it for me right now. Is I feel like we've seen Kiel Vetjen and Cole Campbell, and Reggiani too, who's very promising, but there hasn't been a teenager who has been as exciting to watch eh, as Inacio has been in these last few games. And I think it reminds me a little bit of the very early Sancho games or Pulisic games before they were really an established member of the squad, while those guys were teenagers. And it just like I want to hope that this guy's the real deal, that he's going to keep improving. Because if he does, I think we've got a real gem on our hands. And additionally, should he leave in a few years, I think he could potentially carry a hefty price tag. Of course, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but he's exciting to watch, and I think that there's a bit of a spark when he's got the ball at his feet, when he's dribbling through players that I just don't feel like we've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's specifically funny that you kind of compare him to Watson, because when we talked about Watson, we were like, this guy's getting more minutes than a lot of the guys in previous years. And we were like,
Mhm.
Cole Campbell's getting a game, guys. Isn't that exciting? Here's 15 minutes of 19-year-old Cole Campbell. Like, that's interesting. And, like, Cole Campbell and Kiel Watson will likely end up having several years in a top five league, which means they are good. Like, that is a good outcome for an academy player. Samuel Inacio has over triple the amount of minutes as Kiel Watson has in his career in the Bundesliga already this season. Like, think about that. And Inacio's not even the academy player who's played the most. And so I think that's very exciting in and of itself. And then you look at some of the shot location stuff. You look at the expected assists, and then we have like several games where he's not attempting dribbles really at all. And then you have him finally in this match. He's starting to have the confidence to take players on, to run at guys. And you just see that adaptation starting to happen in real time. And that's very exciting. The sample size is tiny, but he's winning 71% of his dribbles. And it looks like he's lacking a bit of pace. So, like, that could come in the next couple of years. or he could just get a little bit stronger, and that could allow him to dribble better as well because he has the guile clearly. It's
Mhm.
just about having that extra little bit of physicality, and he's so young that that should come. So it's very exciting, and he's actually playing a lot more than a lot of these other guys. The thing I want to talk about in terms of your like statements on like Niko Kovac not developing these guys, I feel like he actually has empowered Inacio. I don't know if that was necessarily his decision. Like that could be coming from Ale Book and Lars Ricken saying like, look, this kid's amazing. Our league games don't matter anymore. But Kovac is putting him on the pitch. He's giving him the freedom to play in space. He's giving him like a pretty well defined role. And even if at times some of our attackers are less empowered, they see a little bit less of the ball because of Kovac's football. You have to remember in a lot of different ways, there's other positions on the field that typically like players mature later in midfield, they mature later in the back line. But we've seen Anselmino get a ton of minutes in the first half of the season. We've seen Reggiani and Mane get some minutes in the first half of this season, and or Reggiani in the second half of the season. But these guys are really young and they're really protected by Kovac's system. And I think that's empowered them to play in their own way. Like Anselmito was flying up the pitch for tackles. Reggiani a little bit less like that. He's a little bit more reserved as a center back, and we'll see how he matures. But I think Kovac's system has helped his development a lot. And Joe Bellingham's another guy, like a lot better of a prospect, a lot more of a sure thing in some ways compared to guys that have played zero senior minutes coming into the season. But Joe Bellingham has defensively been protected by Niko Kovac's three at the back system in a way that under Terzic, if you were playing in midfield, you wouldn't have that protection because the games were just a lot more open. And if you look at Kovac's Monaco side, like there's a ton of young players in there that he develops really well. And a lot of those young players he was developing, surprisingly for Monaco, were center backs and midfielders. So it's not like it's not just about developing attackers. I think Kovac's system is going to be very good for developing midfielders and center backs. And hopefully the team and Ale Book can put together the right attackers that are so good that it's a lot easier for Kovac to develop them, if that makes sense. And I think Maxi Bayer is a guy that is kind of like that because he's played all over the place and he's shown this season some really mature traits that you'd like to see a nine have. So I think that's very exciting. And moving on to our final story, we have Musakaba getting a contract extension. Musakaba, he's been with the U19 since he was 15. He is now 17 years of age. He is 6'4". He predominantly plays in defensive midfield, although for the U17 World Cup, he did play as a center back for Germany. And he said of this contract extension, I am very grateful for the trust that Bruce Yortman has placed in me, and I will continue to work hard every day to repay that trust. I am proud to wear the black and yellow shirt and want to do my bit to help BFB succeed. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I don't have many comments. I just love the kid. I think he has a bright future in Bacano, and I'm glad that we are just making those deals early on so we can just develop those kids and just guarantee they're not gonna go for cheaper deals or just gonna sell them for under value fee. So in that sense, I think it's great, and hopefully even younger and younger players are gonna get their minutes. As Eli said, with Samuel Inacio just having a great last run of matches in by the end of the season, and hopefully we can move on with that mix between the most experienced sides and of course our younger talents. Joey?
Yeah, I mean, like you, I'm really happy that the deal is it's like done and dusted. I mean, it's making these deals early so we don't really have to worry about it is good. Um, makes it seem like they are building something of a future. I don't think I've watched Musakaba play in I don't know probably the last 3 months, but I like him. He seems very promising, and if there seems like a legitimate, or I guess I shouldn't say legitimate. If there's a renewed or refreshed push to get a few of these younger guys into or integrated into the senior squad, then really happy to see that too.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see what we look like next year in preseason because you got Mattis out there who is an unbelievably highly rated prospect, and you have Musa Kaba who's an unbelievably highly rated prospect. With essentially like Albert has his debut, but no minutes. Um, Kaba has played a bit more with the second team in terms of like training time, but he's been injured so much this year that it's really just about him getting healthy. But like, how much are these guys going to be with the first team next season? And with some of the signings I expect us to make, I think it's going to be a situation where it's one injury and you're up. And for Albert and Kaba, they're going to start the season with the second team. And I'm really excited for that because Kaba, especially, like, his size is something you can't teach. Like, 6'4" players with some, like, one touch passing abilities, like, they don't grow on trees. And if he can just continue evolving and get more comfortable on the ball, his height, his size, his defensive positioning, I think should take him very far. Um, and at that size, like, how good does your defensive positioning have to be? You take up half the field. Uh, maybe that's my short king status talking for me, because those guys can poke the ball out from very far away. No one likes my joke. Incredible. So I think we can wrap it up and give out our shout outs for the Fantasy Bundesliga season. And we'll give a shout out to the week 34 winner before we give out our top five, our top 10 for the season on the full year. And starting out the match week 34 winners, my friend Edward DC4. And then the top 10, starting off in 10, we have Sco Beefalby in 10. We have Oso Beams, that's me, in 9th. Yes, top 10, top 10. Top 10 out of 184, by the way. Larry Buys a Lighter in 8th. German Plate in 7th. Notorious in 6th. Red Munich, boo. Munich is actually blue, so wrong. In 5th, KKP BG. In 4th, Pints of Bayer in 3rd. Joey, your line.
Sorry, Larry Buys a Lighter is my favorite team name now.
Okay, that you're switched up on me. I'm trying to cue your line, and I was waiting for the I love Pints of Bayer.
Now I'm all about Larry Buys a Lighter now.
Okay. KKM, a bunch of numbers in 2nd, and Supercalifragilistic absolutely ran away with it in the top spot. So shout out them. And
Congrats.
is there anything you guys want to plug?
I'm not really in particular. Just glad that I'm back here with you guys, recording a podcast, talking Borussia Dortmund. Just wish us a very exciting preseason. Hopefully for better things next season ahead. And let's go Borussia Dortmund. And hopefully I can watch even more Borussia Dortmund matches at the stadium, which was a great experience for me. So hopefully I'll be able to go back there soon. But I'm glad to be here.
It'll make me blush.
Really happy having you here, Pedro. Yeah, leave us some comments and tell us what you want us to talk about this summer. We've got plenty of time before the new season.
Absolutely. A pleasure talking to you both today. We really appreciate that. I'm going to plug something from my personal YouTube channel. You can find me on YouTube at Eli Brand. I have the most subscribers of any Eli brand, so if you're seeing another one, they're a poser. It's the one with more subscribers, know that. And then for us, please make sure you like us on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on Spotify. That matters so much. Same with Apple Podcasts. We're available anywhere you get your podcasts. That is how you are hearing my voice, as well as YouTube. You can also find our social media on Instagram. Thank you for joining us for a wonderful season. Have a good one.
Jadon Sancho to score. No mistakes this time.
That is a rocket.
Royce out. Another fantastic goal by Marco Royce. Haaland's volley is beautiful beyond
Jetzt
compare.
kommt das Wunder von Dortmund. Foulspiel von Inzo an Götze.
Needs to lay it off. We're going to shot away. Oh,